Hello my dear friends, you're in the Military Summary channel, and this video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous 12 hours. We have a lot of very interesting details, so let's start. And first let's discuss the conversation between the President of Ukraine Zelensky and Donald Trump. They had a call during the previous night of Ukrainian time, and obviously they were talking about the special military operation and possible deal between Russia and Ukraine. And there are a few important details that I would like to point to your attention. Zelensky, after that conversation, somewhere at 1:30 a.m. of the local time on 20th of July, published his own expression, his own opinion about the conversation with Donald Trump. And in the first part of the statement, he called Donald Trump as nobody. So he reported that I had a conversation with Donald Trump, and that's it. And after he tried to give a short description of the call, and in the final part, in the final paragraph of the statement, he called Trump as a president. We agreed with the President Trump to discuss everything during the personal meeting. So as you can see, Zelensky tried to be very careful because he still depends on the United States of America more. He still depends on the decision and probably mood or opinion of Joe Biden. So that's why in the first part he was trying to be very careful, but probably in the final part he forgot about everything. He forgot that there are still probably 4 months of clashes of war with Russia, and during the next 4 months he still needs support of Joe Biden, and he called Trump as a president, which is very interesting. And probably this will cause damage to the relations between Biden and Zelensky and Ukraine, United States of America. On the other hand, also we received a report that leadership of the U.S. Democratic National Committee announced that it intends to nominate President Biden in the 2024 elections, despite numerous calls for the head of the state to withdraw his candidacy. I'll remind you that during the previous few days we were talking a lot about probably some reports and some rumors that Joe Biden is going to withdraw his candidacy, but now we understand that this is not going to happen. And we have the final part about this. Let's talk about Donald Trump. He also described the conversation with Zelensky. He was very happy. He expressed very good that Zelensky and Trump has very good relations. And once again, they were talking about some deal that either the Ukrainians and the Russians will accept. Obviously, very soon, probably in 2 or 3 months, Donald Trump and his team will provide us some draft of the deal, and then we will understand everything. Now let's talk about the situation in Ukraine. Before we discuss the situation on the ground, let's talk about additional reports about meetings and strikes all over the entire territory of Ukraine. Just yesterday we talked about some meetings in Zaporozhye, and today we see that the situation continues developing. We have additional place with significant number of people who were asking the local authorities to resolve the issues and the problems with the power restrictions. We haven't received any additional updates about any other towns about the meetings, but most likely today, this weekend, we're going to receive more updates. And another important thing that I would like to discuss with you is the situation that currently is taking place with the recruiters of Ukraine. During the previous probably 4, 6, 10 months, we've been receiving lots of updates of how the recruiters over the entire territory of Ukraine capturing, kidnapping people and sending them to the line of combat contact. But starting of July or probably late June, we start receiving significant updates of how the resistance in Ukraine begin attacking the recruiters' cars, vehicles, setting them on fire, so damaging them as much as possible. In this series of videos, we can see how the resistance in Ukraine, local resistance in Ukraine, in Odessa and Kharkiv area, destroyed the vehicles and cars of these recruiters trying to reduce basically their possibilities to do their dirty job. Obviously, this situation is also going to be developed and so on. And also right before we start making the video, during the previous night, we got updates about some assassination attempt of very pro-Ukrainian media person in the western part of Ukraine who hated Russians as much as possible as nobody in Ukraine. She was assassinated by 25 years old boy, and she was shot in her hand, and later she died in the hospital. So this is the situation, and some sources are saying that that was a special operation conducted by the Russian special forces. So I'm not sure whether it's true or not, but other sources are saying that there are very big traffic from the European countries to Ukraine of military help, of just aid to people, and that this woman was like in charge of some roads of this support, and she had some part of this support to her personal pocket. Now let's move to the situation on the ground, and first let's talk about Kharkiv direction. There are very heavy clashes. That information was stated by the group of forces north, and as we can see, according to the geolocations we continue receiving from this area, more and more geolocations are coming from Toretsk area. So probably this is the territory that Ukrainians are planning to use as the new direction for offensive or counter-offensive, with the purpose to force the Russians to fall back. We have additional updates from the north of Kupiansk. Today, the official channel of the group of forces north stated that as a result of clashes, the Russians captured few more buildings inside of the high-rise building area and managed to advance for another 50 meters. Not so many, of course, but on the other hand, at least some progress. And we have just few videos of how the Russians were bombing the northern part with the tall flamethrower systems and just with the regular artillery systems. No changes on the ground, no attempts to change the line of combat contact, neither from the Russian nor from the Ukrainian side. Now let's move further. Northern Kupiansk direction. Very interesting situation updates we continue receiving from the village of Stepovo-Novoselovka. I'll remind you that just a month ago, during June, the Minister of Defense of Russian Federation reported that as a result of clashes, the Russians established complete control over this village. But probably for the previous week or 10 days, we've been receiving significant number of videos and geolocations exactly from this territory. And in those videos, we might see how the Russians were bombing this territory. So there are few probably options. Either the Russians made a mistake when they stated that Stepovo-Novoselovka was captured during the June, or the Ukrainians managed to counterattack after and to restore control over this territory. Most likely we're gonna have to adjust the map and return Stepovo-Novoselovka under complete Ukrainian control. Now let's move further. As for southern Kupiansk, we haven't received anything. Considering the Siversk direction, we have just few reports, some geolocation showing the Russian control over supply roads between Bilogorovka, Grigorovka and Serebryanka. The Russians stated that they managed to ambush Ukrainian source forces. Razdolovka. Ukrainian mappers confirmed control over the village, complete control over the village. Furthermore, Ukrainian pro-Ukrainian mappers confirmed control over the farms that located to the east of the village. So let's wait for additional updates, and then we will continue adjustments of the map. Chasiv Yar, nothing special, just the regular duels between the Ukrainians and Russians who are located accordingly in the eastern and the western part of the village by the name of Kalinovka. New York, Toretsk agglomeration. We have very important report published by pro-neutral mapper. According to some mappers, the Russians, as a result of offensive operation, managed to establish complete control and to secure the landfill and the Terikon and the coal mine by the name of South. So this territory was captured by the Russians according to different mappers. This is very important landfill, very important strategical hill that the Russians can use for control of the territory to in many directions, especially in the southwestern direction, and to control New York itself. So this is very important progress if this information is correct. Some pro-Russian sources reported about additional Russian progress in the vicinity and in direction of Alexandropol. According to Russian mappers, the Russians captured several strongholds and the trenches along this road. Let's move to Progress and to the western Avdiivka direction. Today we got additional confirmation from the triangle Progress, Vovcha, Yevgenievka. According to pro-Russian sources, the Russians established additional control over some tree lines and fields in this direction. A summarizing Russian report, this is approximately the territory that was captured by the Russians during the previous night or during the previous day. And today we got additional reports from the village of Progress. The most important is that pro-Ukrainian mappers Deep State confirmed Russian control at least over 50 or 40% of the village. I'll remind you that yesterday most of the mappers, including neutral mappers, have changed the entire territory of Progress under complete Russian control, because we had the video of how the Russian soldier was waving to some reconnaissance drone that was flying above him. As for South Donetsk and as for other directions, as you can see, we haven't received lots of updates. Just interesting situation continued developing in the vicinity of Orekhov. I'll remind you that a few days ago we got report that the Russians concentrated forces or began redeployment of the forces from Donetsk, from Mariupol towards Orekhov, maybe with the purpose to resume attempts to attack the Ukrainians in Orekhov and Gulay-Polye directions. For now, we see that the Russians just intensify their activity. The Russians are attacking the Ukrainian concentration of forces along the line of combat contact. The Russians are hunting and destroying the Ukrainian, let's say, drone artillery systems, and the Russians attack the Ukrainian howitzers in the deep rear. Maybe this is the preparation before something full scale, I'm not sure, but for now we don't have enough of evidence to make like certain and conclusions that this is exactly what is going to happen. And that's it for this short video. Military Summary channel reminds we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for your watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.